UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback.
29-year-old Sean Salisbury, his second start as a National Football League quarterback.
All right, guys, welcome into UNPAVED. It's a Thursday, and it's a great Thursday. The USA in this World Baseball Classic can take a sigh of relief for a second. Now they get back at it, and I think they've gone from on the brink of elimination to playoffs. We'll get into that later in the show, but football heavy. This is always the case when free agency kicks in. There is no offseason in football, obviously. I can tell you a few things as we lead into this. Bring in Adam Sager here in just a second, my partner and co-host on this show, Adam G. Sager on Twitter. I'm at Sean Unfiltered. And Bailey and Laura, thank you. Segs, great to have you on. A few things we have on the show today. Obviously, we'll hit Tony Dungy a little later on after 17 years, no longer there. I'm going to tell you why I believe those things happen now for a guy who's been nothing but class and professional his whole life, let alone his career. We'll get to that. The Maxx Crosby situation, which we'll start with in a second. But before we get into that, Segs, the Kyler Murray, Minnesota situation. Going to take a physical, do a lot. If they sign him and get in, this is sending a loud message, and I don't care what anybody says. The page that the fired GM and Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, were not on, because you let two guys that are better than Kyler Murray at this stage of their career, I'd say more talented, better than Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, walk out of the building. And you kept a guy who hadn't started a game and J.J. McCarthy in and drafted him the first round, which I'm okay. I'm not quitting on McCarthy. I think he can be a good player. But now you're admitting out loud that he's not the player you thought he was already, regardless. I don't care what they say. It's a factor. You don't bring in a guy. You're not bringing in Kyler Murray if you bring him in, or a guy like him, meaning who's had starting experience. This is the former first pick of the draft who's had some good seasons. If you bring him in, you're sending a loud message. We screwed up. Our general manager's gone for a reason, that being one of them, that the head coach believes that they're quarterback weak. And then you got to get in the fragility of how will J.J. McCarthy handle it, going from running Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. And I say running them out, meaning let them go. Both now are starters on teams that should be playoff teams. We'll see if the Colts can get there. And Daniel Jones making $44 million a year, and Sam Darnold has got a ring on his finger as Super Bowl champion. There, you want to talk about get rid of remorse. It's going on in Minnesota, whether it's Kyler Murray or somebody else. And what message does it send? And if you're a fragile personality, and J.J. McCarthy better not be, because if they bring a guy like Kyler Murray and they ain't bringing him in to back up, because I don't think Kyler Murray would be a good quarterback in the room guy as a backup quarterback. I just don't.
Right.
So we're going to hit that as well. But we start, Segs, with Maxx Crosby. Speaking of remorse, we can do all we want. They knew all the records of the physical. They knew what they were getting when Maxx Crosby showed up. Max is a Raider, and he's excited to be. He gets to move back into that crib that he has in Vegas. And the Raiders will be better defensively with Maxx Crosby, regardless of what has happened. But you knew going in. You knew what the pictures looked like. You knew a guy was in the middle of rehab. You knew you gave up 2 first-rounders. You knew Trey Hendrickson was available. And I think that this is a top 5 organization in football. Hell, maybe even in sports, the way the Ravens for years have gone about their business. An owner who doesn't say much. They've had great success in the front office, and it's parlayed into some really good football. Yet, obviously, as of recent, they haven't won the Super Bowl with Lamar, and that's something that they want to do. But they're always at least at the top of our thoughts. So, Segs, I say this. I am telling you now, from my opinion, and seeing this sport for all these years, they got scared like a scalded dog and ran from this. They just did. You get a guy cheaper. You get a guy with less injury problem now going in, and they had buyer's remorse, and they were afraid to death and got cold feet. As much as I love them, facts, and it's okay. It's okay if you did that, because the rules say you can in that period, Segs. It is okay if you do, but you can skirt it as much as you want. They got scared of the Maxx Crosby situation because of the injury and wondering how it was going to parlay into the fall and the future. But they also realized, damn, 2 first-rounders, do we really want to give that up for a guy who's not 100% healthy, even if he gets to that point? This is the perfect case of how many times we all done it. We get to the 11th hour, Segs, whether it's financially, whether it's when you're getting married, whether it's buying a car, I don't care what it is. And you get to a point where you say, you wake up and it's almost you wake up in cold sweats in the middle of the night, like, I can't do this. I can't do it. Well, what's the alternative? Well, maybe a car that wasn't a lemon. I'm not saying Maxx is a lemon, but in their mind, Maxx is nothing like that. Maxx is a great player. But I'm talking about the injury part. Say, well, we got a guy in Cincinnati who's in the prime of his career. Let's go get him for $100 million. That's what this is, Segs. Make no mistake about it. This is nothing more than that. They didn't find out something new about Maxx Crosby's rehab. It's okay, though. The problem, but for making excuses, and I think they know that, and I think that Eric also knows as a GM that there is going to be skepticism about why they did it. There is no question about it. You're on mute, Segs. And by the way, could we get Wonton Clan on there? We're not talking about we're not getting into Jewish and your discriminatory stuff. We're not doing that. Somebody block him. We don't need that on here. If he wants to come in and say something right, but get that spam off our feed there if we possibly can. All right, sure. Now you're off there. Good to have you.
Good to be here. GM Eric DeCosta did quote say, I understand the skepticism behind this. We live in an age of skepticism and people question. I have a responsibility to the Ravens. Nobody is more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. A regret. He added he doesn't know what they could have done differently. He did go on to say that we were looking at possibly having both Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. And before we could really get into that, the medicals came back on Maxx Crosby, and we knew we couldn't move forward with him as a part of the Ravens organization, and that's when we backed out of the deal. I don't think I believe that. You're not spending $60+ million per year on 2 edge rushers right now. The Ravens can't afford to do that. Plus, revamp the rest of their defense like they need to. So I think this is a guy in DeCosta trying to get out, trying to save some face by saying, oh, we were going to have both. Oh, we were going to do this. And then the medicals came back, blah, 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 blah. You knew about where he was. We have other
there was no crazy stuff coming through there that said, oh my gosh, degenerative. You found that out overnight. That's not true. I don't believe that. Right.
So I don't like the fact how DeCosta came out and tried to spin it the way he did. First, let's see Eric DeCosta's comment. We can just listen to him.
What do you kind of say to that speculation?
I mean, I understand it. I understand it. We live in that age of skepticism and people question, especially people that don't really know me or know the Ravens culture and the Ravens organization. So I understand it. As I said at the beginning, we've got a responsibility. I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea, is this the best thing for the Ravens? It's very, very challenging. Again, I understand how people might, maybe from afar, would feel that way. But nobody's more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. And so a big regret for me. But we will move on as a football team, and I think there's many, many opportunities for us to grow as a team, to become a better team, to build a roster, and to be the team that we want to be.
Segs, I can tell you with this, I've said it, since Ozzie Newsome all the way down, and even pre-Ozzie Newsome, but since Ozzie Newsome all the way down in the front office to Eric DeCosta, they've done a phenomenal job. Drafting, winning, piecing stuff together. And this isn't a question of if Eric DeCosta has character about. Of course he does, and it is his responsibility is to the Ravens. What it is that he also had somebody above him come and say, "Dude, are you sure we can pull this off?" Because when you tie yourself to something like this, if something would have happened to Maxx Crosby, guess who the first guy that's going to get blamed for it is? Him. And so you do protect it. Let's face facts. Sometimes you go into things aggressive and say, I don't care what happens. I've got enough skin in the game and enough trophies on the wall to say that even if it doesn't hit, I'm going to be okay and we're going to be okay. And then sometimes you don't. We're a fragile league with fragile personalities, and Eric's good at his job. But I could say this. Here's the next day, and there is skepticism. There should be on this. There should be, even if you're a Ravens fan and you wanted Max there. But here's why I'll say this, Segs, and you can answer this too. If, in fact, Trey Hendrickson would have signed the day before, let's say he signed with somebody the same day Maxx Crosby got traded, I believe in my heart of hearts as we're sitting here today, and it's not just, this isn't just exclusive to the Ravens. Put everybody in the category, all teams. And you found it out on the day that Maxx Crosby was traded that also Trey Hendrickson signed with the New England Patriots. Mm-hmm. You think Maxx Crosby's back with the Raiders? You think Maxx Crosby's on the Baltimore Ravens?
He's on the Baltimore Ravens.
He's a Baltimore Raven. So it was the perfect storm for Hendrickson, for Baltimore. It was the perfect time. They were fortunate that it fell into them, that he hadn't signed. It fell into them in the window. Period. If in fact that you would have gone, it's like those things when you're half committed to a golf shot and you're fully committed. Or I can apply it to football. I've said this before. Coach sends in a play. You got 10 cats there that say, oh, hell, not now. Run the damn ball.
Right.
And you're dropping back to throw it. Even if the play's designed against a coverage that says this play's going to be sensational. If the cats in the huddle don't believe it or the quarterback who called it doesn't believe it, I don't care if it works perfect against that coverage. You're going to have a hard time executing. I'm just telling you. And I've been part of the opposite. Man, they'll send in, you send in a play, and it absolutely doesn't work versus the coverage. Or the run says you can't run against a box safety. He's not blocked. The back makes him miss. And you're like, but the guys in the huddle say, no, Sean, you don't check out of this. We got this. And the back says, I'm going to bring my own blocker. Bam. You run a play, and you say, there's no way that had any business working. Yep. You get 12 yards on it. Why, Segs? Because there's this believability. It's the same thing here. You got to the point where it was, we kind of believe in this 8-iron to the flagstick. We kind of believe in this play. But when you're all bought in on something, you just forget it. Had Trey Hendrickson not been available in that window, I'm just telling you, I believe, and I bet big money on it, that Maxx Crosby is still in the building, getting himself ready, rehabbing under the Ravens' watch and going. It was an opportunity, and it was within the rules. You bailed out. Raiders, no worse. They're going to be better on defense because Max is going to be ready to go and play. And the Ravens got a hell of a player in Trey Hendrickson. But this is simply cold feet mixed in with Trey being available, mixed in with Max in the middle of rehab. Now, if this comes 4 months later, Segs, and you're out of the window and you're saying, damn, it's degenerative, we made a mistake, then you're just going to try to cover it and get it done, right? Yeah. Spray some cologne on the crap and hope that Max's knee or his injury is okay. Well, with this, I ain't buying it, and I buy half of it. I get it. But had Maxx Crosby been traded and Trey Hendrickson been signed outside the window where you couldn't make the decision, you were already in, free agency kicked in, and he signed, or if Trey Hendrickson was already gone, Maxx Crosby is still a Baltimore Raven in my mind.
Well, and also the other part of this that isn't good, in my opinion, for the Baltimore Ravens is the fact that you had Maxx Crosby in your building. He was touring the building. He was going around with stuff. They were, going through the stuff, welcoming him to the team, basically. And you're talking to Trey Hendrickson on the phone while he's in the building. You're trying to work out a deal with Trey Hendrickson, knowing that there's a possibility. You probably did not decide to send him back to Vegas until Trey Hendrickson said, we got a deal.
Does that sound like Sam Levitt, Lane Kiffin?
Yeah. Sitting at the basketball game, Damon Williams sitting at the basketball game, and Lane's on his phone.
And I mean, who's on Long Street becomes the third guy. Jumps into the play after that. Right.
While they're at the basketball game, while Lane Kiffin is sitting next to Sam Levitt, we got Damon Williams committing to LSU. Like, it's basically the same exact thing. So it's a bad situation. It's a bad look for the Ravens. It's a shitty situation for the Raiders if they were wanting to move on from Maxx. It's huge to get 2 first-round picks in this day and age, because picks are so essential to becoming a franchise that has extended success. Not just, we can be good for the next 2 years. We want extended success. When you're getting Fernando Mendoza, you have Bowers and Janty. We think that, we got a lot of money. We just spent a lot of money on a lot of defense. We think if we bring it together, we can have success for the next 7, 8, 9 years with this core we have. Now you don't have those first-round picks. You have Maxx Crosby, but he's about to be 29, and he is coming off a knee surgery that you don't know how is going to affect him. So it's just a city situation.
You have 2 situations. You mentioned, you come away with you want to save face. It's not a over easy egg on DaCosta's face where it rolls all the way down his face. It's a little scrambled egg where it hits and falls off, right? A little bit. But you know who wins in this? The Ravens get a good player. Yeah. The Raiders get a really good player back, both of them. And both players are getting paid. Maxx feels to me like he always wanted to be a lifetime Raider. Hendrickson goes from a team that couldn't play defense and needs him and gets injured and can't play, to a team in Baltimore that, even though with Joe Burrow, obviously in Cincinnati, you're always got a chance, and Trey Hendrickson, but you're going to a team that's got a chance to win it every single year. So for a second choice for the Raiders and Ravens, which this ends up being, Trey Hendrickson's a pretty damn good second choice. So they win. And getting Maxx Crosby back, I got news for you, Segs. Neither one of those first-round picks are going to impact the Raiders if this trade went through, like Maxx Crosby will next fall. So if you're going to have to, quote-unquote, settle for Trey Hendrickson and settle for Maxx Crosby in Baltimore and Oakland, meaning Las Vegas, then that's a pretty damn good settle for both franchises, even though it's a little bit disruptive for both, because one's reeling on having to explain themselves. The others are like, well, salary cap wise. Yet, you know what, Segs, even with Crosby there, do you know what? They still have salary cap room, even after all these signings. The Raiders do. They're even after all this, they still have some room to work. So both of them, and you know what? The Raiders may in the end say, you know what? We're glad we did this. A 29-year-old and healthy Maxx Crosby, if he gets right, maybe this end up being good in the long run. So we'll see what happens in the fall and moving forward with both these teams and players.
Yeah, and real quick, just looking at this Raiders defense now, you went out, you got Kwity Paye, a defensive end. You went out, he doesn't
quit, Segs. He does not quit.
He does not quit.
No. And he wants to get paid. You feel me? And he did.
Yeah. And he did. You brought back Malcolm Kuntz, the defensive end, who will be most likely Maxx Crosby's backup, little rotation with those guys. You went out and got Quay Walker. You went out and got Nakobe Dean to play your middle, in the middle of that defense in that 3-4. You got Teron Johnson, who you went out and signed. So defensively, to go along with Adam Butler, who's a good player, Tyree Wilson, the first-round pick from a few years back, seems to be getting better. Pick didn't work out early, but he seems to be getting better. You went out and got Eric Stokes. You got Jeremy Chin at safety. They've got a lot of talent on this defense now with Maxx Crosby back. This could be a really good unit for the Raiders. Now the question is, can the young quarterback and Fernando Mendoza that we all expect to be their quarterback when the season starts, Janty, Brock Bowers, can he stay healthy? Can the offensive line with newly paid center Tyler Linderbaum and Colton Miller and those guys, can they protect Fernando Mendoza? Do they have enough weapons, I think, is my big question.
Yep.
On the Raiders
no doubt.
to compete.
And see what they do come draft time too. Segs, I do know this. They have Clint Kubiak and this group in this front office as doing what they can so far to arm offensively and defensively, arm a rookie quarterback with some upgrades. There is no doubt. They have upgraded. Now, if it's enough, who the hell knows? It's a tough division. But they have upgraded. And it's a very tough division. The Chargers are going to be competitive. The Chiefs they're not going to be down long where they're not a playoff team. And we obviously know that the Denver Broncos are pretty damn good too, come Raiders. So they have upgraded. But think about this, Segs. You're on Indiana's campus getting ready for the draft. You're rolling around. You got a national championship ring on. Been a pretty good couple of years, or should I say a good year for Fernando Mendoza. But think about this. You already know you're the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, and we're in March.
Yeah.
You already know. So you're watching it as a front office and a coach. What can I do to upgrade my game? Oh, this guy came in on defense. Oh, Maxx is coming back. Awesome. Now I got another first. We're going to use my first round pick on me, and now there's 2 more. We don't have to worry about that. But Maxx will be on defense. So you're sitting there thinking, pretty cool. Got myself a wide receiver. So if you're here, I got myself a running back who looks to be the part. Got myself one of the best young, if not one of the best young pass catching tight end in the league. He's in the conversation in Brock Bowers. So if you're Fernando Mendoza, you're like, I don't have to go beat out anybody. I just have to go keep the gig. It's pretty good. And you got a coach that knows how to coach somebody first. Sam Darnold rolls in. Kubiak coaches him up. You go and you know you're going to run the football and work some play action and be friendly to the quarterback. I would imagine this is, if you're Fernando Mendoza, you say, man, I've been living right. This last year's been pretty damn good. Been a hell of a run for him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because there are some reports saying that Maxx Crosby is still quietly being shopped. Teams are still calling and the Raiders are listening. And then there's some reports saying that, no, they're not listening and Maxx is going to be a Raider. He says he's going to be a Raider. We'll see what happens. There's still a long way to go in this offseason before any final decisions are made. All right, moving on. We saw yesterday, we've been talking about it for a few weeks now. Kyler Murray officially cut from the Arizona Cardinals. All reports are saying Minnesota Vikings. You kind of opened your show talking about it. Let's talk first about the fit. If he were to go to Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, how do you like the fit of Kyler Murray there with they restructured Aaron Jones, so he'll be back as a running back. You got Justin Jefferson, obviously arguably the best offensive player in football, skill position-wise. You've got Jordan Addison, who's been a solid number 2.
He just got to quit driving fast and get himself in. Quit getting himself in some off the field stuff.
And then you got the big tight end in Hockenson. So you got some weapons there for Kyler Murray. How do you like the fit in the Kevin O'Connell offense for Kyler Murray?
Well, the first thing I need to know about Kyler Murray, Segs, is who am I getting? Am I getting a guy who's the victim, meaning blame it? Oh, I was good in Arizona. They had me pegged wrong. If you'd have put good players around me. The old I confess it's always somebody else's fault guy who, quite frankly, no offense, Segs, has led a pretty red carpeted life. And he's a talented guy. Hell, first. Now listen, it doesn't happen very often. You're a top 10 pick in baseball and you're the first pick of the draft in football. Okay, so we're looking at a very skilled, of all the quarterbacks that came available this offseason, I'm talking about free agents. This is the most gifted one, talented-wise. He just is. Now, if you're going by measurables, well, you'd say you'd like to raise him about 6 inches, but we've gotten to the point I've long since quit concerning myself. I know a bunch of 6'5" stiffs. I threw enough picks at times that 6'5" or 6 foot wouldn't have mattered. I threw the ball the wrong guy at times. So that to me is overrated at that position. And I know at times you get balls batted, but you're throwing through lanes. Even 6'5" quarterbacks have to throw through lanes. So let's shelf that for a second. I need to know who I'm getting. And this is 2-pronged. What attitude and headache am I bringing? What work ethic and commitment to the mental study part? Because he's going to a guy in Kevin O'Connell who is not going to tolerate and roll out a red carpet that if you're a guy who doesn't prepare, that sends a loud message and a booming one to the rest of the room. You got to come in and you got to be the guy who stays longer, even if you're not doing shit. Optics matter in this because Kyler Murray's already had that around him. Can you imagine being in your contract that we have to put in your contract how many hours a day you got to prepare? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the position, embarrassing for Kyler Murray. And that has zero to do with his skill set because his skill set's good. This is the guy who's been a Dow Jones, or when he's good, Segs, he's as good as we have. And I'm telling you, dynamic and precise talent. When he's bad or when his attitude or when he's brooding, you're like, I wouldn't trade this guy for an apple in a roadmap.
Right.
Okay. Or I wouldn't get an apple in a roadmap from him. So I don't know. When he got to Arizona and they had Josh Rosen, I said, of course, if you could get rid of Josh Rosen, that sounds harsh. Move him at the time and get Kyler Murray, do it. Because when he was at Oklahoma going into his last year, Segs, I think I've told you this before. I was a little skeptical on him. Well, how's it going to be? Is he a runner first? Can he win from the pocket? Is he a baseball guy? And I went back and studied about 5 or 6 of his games before that draft. And I came away saying, we're not giving the guy enough credit. The guy's a football player, and he is a good player. But to me, it all comes down to he's not good enough, though, to show up, throw his football and his cleats on the field and dominate because, well, I didn't study, but I'm just good enough to make things happen. And I think early in his career, he felt that was it because he could dominate 7-on-7, dominate it when he was in high school, at Allen High School, and doing all of it, and a great baseball player. Then he got to the big boys and realized, oh, if you don't prepare, they're just as fast as you and a step up. So to me, I need to know what Kyler Murray's going to bring. Forget the football skill, what he's going to bring to me in all the periphery stuff that makes quarterbacks great. Listen, if we're 4 weeks in saying great talent, not sure what kind of quarterback he is, like some are now, there's a huge difference. I know a bunch of dudes that are talented, but are they quarterback enough to do quarterback things? The boring, consistent shit that has to happen every day, on the field, off the field, in meetings, at home, every day. Now, if you want to be great, you want to be good, you'll be good at times with this talent, but you can't sustain it. If you want to be average, don't study, have them have to watch over you when your computer's on, and show up and think that it's everybody else's fault. That's what I mean, because he is a gifted player. So the other part of this dynamic is, what's it do to the guy you just spent a high first-round pick on that missed his rookie year due to injury, and you ran Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold out, and now you're making up for some mistakes you made? Because in truth, McCarthy wasn't ready to sustain it. And I still think he can be a player. How he handles that mentally tough and dealing with the guy who's coming in to take his job if he does, if Murray signs, and then realizing that you made a mistake and that Sam Darnold for $35 million would have been your guy, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation, and McCarthy be getting prepped to take over at some point. And if it took a while, then you trade McCarthy and keep Darnold because whatever it took.
Yep.
And now you're at a stage where you're not dealing with the fragility and the lack of preparation for one. You're also dealing with how fragile will it be to tell a first-round pick after 2 years, we've semi-quit on you because we're bringing in another guy who hasn't exactly consistently set the world on fire, but has at times. This is a weird situation, Seg. So there's a lot that goes on. And you're dealing with all it. The question is, who's Kyler Murray now? Is Kyler Murray the guy that says, I got to do better, man? Or is Kyler Murray the I confess he did it, it's somebody else's fault? Because talent is not in question.
Yeah, basically it's how much has he grown from his time in Arizona?
Does he want to be a star, or does he just want to be a guy?
What is he
right
learned?
Now he's a star talent with guy production.
Yep.
And another thing, a part of this, I didn't mean to interrupt you, that I'm glad you reminded me of this, is what kind of teammate is he? Right. I'm just telling you, Segs, I'd rather have a great teammate and a good talent, great teammate that guys believe in than a great talent that guys, every time you show up, are like, what guy am I getting in the building?
Yeah.
I will. Kyler Murray, if he ends up in Minnesota or wherever else he ends up, that's what you want to find out. And the early returns will be important. And I'm not talking about the fall. I'm talking about the off season, showing up, being there, and not believing that you get a little bit, while everybody else is doing one thing, you get to do another because you're Kyler Murray. You're just a guy at quarterback now. They ran you out. So he's got to fix that.
The one thing you know about J.J. McCarthy is he's going to be that good teammate. He's going to be there. He's going to be putting in the work. Now, does it translate to on-field success? Hasn't so far, dealt with some injuries, and the situation wasn't great for him. And now you're going to bring in Kyler Murray. So, I think you'll see real quick how Kyler Murray is in the building if he does sign with the Vikings. Let me ask you this real quick before we hit our commercial. Is there any other team that should be jumping in this fray for Kyler Murray that needs a quarterback this offseason?
Well, Segs, you start to go around and say, well, where's there a starting position open? The Jets signed Geno Smith. You're not bringing two in.
No.
You start to go. I thought about this. Saints have found their guy.
One other team
in their last, huh?
It's one other team, in my opinion.
Let me think for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Miami's got their guy.
One guy.
What division?
AFC North.
AFC North. Boom, boom. Oh, Cleveland Browns.
No, Pittsburgh.
Oh, Oh, okay. Depends on if Rodgers comes back. I'm assuming Rodgers is back. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that would be because and we talked about Cleveland when I thought you were going to say Cleveland, but Cleveland with the Watson situation, that is a loaded quarterback room.
The last thing they need to do is bring in Kyler Murray.
We got a quarterback room with Shedeur, Deshaun, and Kyler, and whoever else, and Dylan Gabriel. Like, is this guy any good? Is this guy any good? This guy shouldn't be starting. Why did he get drafted ahead of me? This guy's got an attitude. This made 230. This guy, I mean, are you talking about the most dysfunctional quarterback room in the world?
Actually,
of all time, you're like, dude, that quarterback room would have the top psychologist laying on the couch by the time it was done, and they'd be sitting in the psychologist chair because they'd be mentally fucked up. Okay,
I take it all back. We need Kyler in Cleveland.
Yes, we do.
Just cameras there and now.
And we don't ever have to even play a football game. Just keep it in the quarterback room and have their conversation.
Knocks forever with those three guys in the same room.
Can you imagine? That would be priceless stuff. And yes, Pittsburgh simply because the Rodgers situation. But if Rodgers is coming back, so really, Segs, it's a very limited window and opportunity. Yeah. And then the next thing is, what's Kyler Murray when he's at his best at? Using his arm and his feet, right? Throwing on time, using his feet. Coming out of an injury, where's his aggressiveness and confidence? Because Kyler Murray will not dominate this league without the expansion of 8 to 10 times a game, getting his feet involved in the offense, not just off schedule, but designed. Yeah. Because, dude, trying to tackle that dude in space is a hard thing to do. That doesn't mean taking those hits, but in space, he's pretty good. So we'll see. And it'll be different. McCarthy has got a dual threat situation, so O'Connell knows it. But you're even going to expand that more if number one here is a Minnesota Viking.
Yeah. All right. When we come back from our commercial, we're going to talk about someone who is not going to be on a football broadcast anymore, that reasons why I think are a lot of speculation that I think could be right. Also, World Baseball Classic. We talked about it yesterday. USA gets in. Who will they face next and when? We'll talk about that. And then some fun stuff at the end of the show that just makes me laugh every single time I see it. But first, tell me about Augusta Precious Metals.
Augusta Precious Metals. Guys, when you're protecting what you've already earned, IRA, 401k, it's not taxed when it comes to gold and silver and precious metals. Let's discuss moving forward how you're going to protect what you've already earned. Protect what matters most with gold and silver. Augusta Precious Metals is your premier gold IRA company. Diversify, protect, preserve, hedge against inflation. That's what this does. Precious metals, they are tangible assets. Protect retirement savings. That retirement you've already earned, is cash doing that? Physical gold and silver, education first approach, no sales tactics at Augusta Precious Metals. That's why I was drawn to them. Drawn to them because they're not pressuring you and hammering you over the head with something. They're trying to educate you so you know what's best for you, your family, your peace of mind, your security now, later, and in the distant future. How much time you have, how much money you have. Precious Metals. It's your premier gold IRA company. That is Augusta Precious Metals. Secure your future with tangible assets. Visit SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Gold and silver continue to rise. And it's one of those, there's no guarantees in life or in sports or in money, but I'll be damned if gold and precious metals isn't about as close as you're going to get. Text Sean to 35052. Again, there's no guarantees, but there is a guarantee that you'll get educated on precious metals. Again, text Sean to 35052 or go to SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Free information, no obligation, guidance, education, and confidence. SeanBuysGold.com.
All right, Sean. Someone we've had on our shows in the past together, a football guy that's been around the league for a long damn time.
He was my defensive coordinator in Minnesota. One of my
that's right.
With us
that's right.
Yes. Yeah, with Denny was here. Yeah, love it.
Been on the broadcast side of things now for a while since he was a head coach. Tony Dungy announced that he will not be returning to Football Night in America on NBC there for Sunday Night Football. What was your first thoughts here when you see a guy like Tony Dungy, who is really good, lose his job for Football Night in America?
Well, Segs is for different reasons. People go through this. Some age, they just do. We're in a new time.
Yeah.
Pay. I'm not talking about Tony. I'm talking about the overall aspect. I'll get to Tony in a second. Hell, Segs, since I went through my stubbing my toe back in 2008, that's not me, and it's not. I mean, red space. That doesn't define me, right?
Right.
But he realized in 20 years I've never had a television audition since I was on TV all those years for 12. Not one. So for different reasons, people choose what they want, what they don't, right? Whatever. You get it, and then you get pushing there. This is a completely different situation, but think about that, right? And it's like it becomes baffling. You say over that went from a molehill to a mountain when if you don't handle it well for whatever reason, Segs. But that's ancient history, no big deal. And we all grow from adversity as opposed to growing from success, right? You try to grow from both, but a lot of times you get hit in the face for whatever reason. So in Tony's case, this is a man of faith that seems to do everything right, Segs. You know what I'm saying? He's had some horrible adversity in his family that he's had to overcome with his son and family. I love Tony Dungy like family. I had many conversations with him when we were in Minnesota. He's one of the finest men you'll ever be around. And he's opinionated, and he is steadfast on his faith and family and the way he goes about his business. For me, I think the reason this comes, I don't have any idea what he makes. I don't have any idea what his relationship is with management. I'm sure it's disappointing even after 17 years. I can tell you this, that one thing you do know, whether he stays or goes, he will always handle the situation with class and grace. That's who he is, and a phenomenal man. To me, it comes to this, Eggs, and this is not that he doesn't know what he's talking about. We love the younger, cheaper version of stuff. When I say cheaper, less expensive, I'm talking about. And I think Segs has come to the point he approaches all of it conservative. And while it's an opinion, it's not hot take-ish enough. I think that's honestly, I think it's to the point where they're going to skew a little bit younger, skew somebody who will say something to move the needle on takes, and maybe it's somebody who doesn't. But I see it so often. I can only take away from this that they want more explosive energy on there. Does that make sense? And it's not a knock on Tony. It's just what somebody else wants and their vision for it and yours. I get it because it's an ever-changing business. And I think probably that maybe Tony isn't grasping or doesn't want to buy into, I have to say this just to get people talking. We see it all the time. Tony will handle this with grace, and there may be another network that picks him up, but they're not going to pick him up just because he's nice and he's a good guy and he's Tony Dungy. They're going to say, does he fit the narrative of what we're bringing and the hot take energy, move the needle? Tony's going to give you a straightforward, very dialed down talk. It's going to he knows football, but it may not be. And this just from this distance, I haven't had a conversation with him about it. I'm just viewing it. You say, well, what did he? There's nothing off the field that would have put him there. Maybe at the end there, the opinion on the Hall of Fame vote bothered him and moved the needle one other way. And with Rodney and him, and I know Rodney and him have a great relationship, but I just don't think his commentary is energetic, explosive, and controversial enough, even though that I'm talking about to create controversy for all the clicks and likes and energy and hot takes that studio shows are running rampant with. But you don't have to be that guy. I think NBC's probably going to go younger in this, and that's not to say Tony Dungy's over the hill. Somebody else may sign him. I love him. It's a bummer because he's always handled himself with class, but this just reeks of we want more explosive takes on set.
Well, and I think when you look at Sunday Night Football's broadcast in general, it's just very bleh. Everything.
They got like 84 bodies from different sets. They got like 4 different sets.
That pregame show to the postgame show with those guys and the broadcast with Collinsworth. It's just, I don't know. I've never really liked the Sunday night broadcast. A lot of times.
Tirico's great.
Tirico's
the next Al. Tirico's one of the best of all time. His versatility, no doubt.
100% is. I just think with Collinsworth and the way, it's just a very dry broadcast, I think is the way to put it. Like Tirico doesn't.
It can put you to sleep at times until Rodney Harrison's on the set. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Until Rodney Harrison,
he gets very low key sometimes. I think because of just the energy around him. It's just a
I can guarantee that's why. That's it, because he was a teammate of mine too. Rodney is so good, but I also think that the level it lacks true that there's some talented guys. I'm not saying they're not talented, but just the energy you get from that. Now compare that to College Game Day. Compare that to
Monday Night
that
Football.
to when just the energy jumping through the camera, and I think it's very vanilla.
Yeah,
at times.
I mean,
I'm
you
talking
go
about the
from
studio stuff with some talented people.
Yeah, you go from like Fox Big Noon Kickoff on Saturdays with Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt. Great broadcast. Gus gets a little too much sometimes, but that's just
he's over the other way energy, but I'll take that any day of the week, brother.
You got Fowler and Herb Street. You got Al Michaels and Herb Street on Thursday. You never know what Al Michaels is going to say anymore. You got throughout the day Sunday, Tom Brady's getting a lot better. Greg Olson's awesome. Romo sucks, but he'll say something that you're like, what the hell did Tony Romo just say? And then you get to Sunday night, and it's like supposed to, most of the time, it's one of the best games of the week. And then it's that broadcast, and you're just like, ugh.
You know what, Sigs? I watch it, like I said, and it's not to say that those guys on there, listen, broadcasting stuff, there's some really talented people. It's just the overall sum of what you're asking for. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when Rodney Harrison first started on that studio show and did it, he should still be the number one because Rodney is not afraid of crap. He wasn't afraid of anybody on the field, and he ain't afraid to talk. What are they going to do? Take his scholarship away? Rodney is he is going to just – and Rodney understands the past of football and the present of football and doesn't have a problem going to both. Shakes, you know what it feels like? I mean, when you're watching, it's like it makes me feel like I have to go on the set during a commercial say, guy, just ramp up the energy a little bit.
Drink some coffee, do something.
Right. Ramp up the energy. Talented, but it's almost like just go about it and just slow it down. And no. I need you jumping through the camera to tell me how much you love football. And while they're talented, the presentation of their talent doesn't come out. And it you know what I'm saying? It doesn't come out all the time, I guess what I'm saying. And listen, I know how tough the broadcasting business is, and there's a lot of good people out there. And when you criticize energy, it's not criticize, it's the overall part of it. And I just feel like that it almost feels as if they're going 55 in the fast lane.
Yeah.
And a whole host of vehicles are behind them saying, man, you got a sports car. Get your ass moving. We got it. It's under the hood. It's there. What are we doing with this? So I need the energy on that whole thing. Pre-game, post-game show needs to jump more. Yeah. It does. They need to catch a flyer and a jumper out of the rough because it just isn't. And I just think that possibly Tony probably too calm and collected for it, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean his broadcast career is done because
I'm not one. I don't watch a lot of pre-game shows. I don't watch a lot of post-game shows. I've lost interest in it over the years. That's the one that I used to put on sometimes just because it would be in between games. You'd have that like 25 minutes from the end of the second wave, the 3:30 games or 4:30 Eastern games to then Sunday Night Football. I'd just throw it on. Normally you'd get the highlights from all the games. They'd talk about the game coming up, and I'd normally do that. I don't even do that anymore. I'll just throw on a sitcom or something for a half hour until Sunday Night Football starts because it loses you. I mean, hell, even Fox NFL Sundays with Terry and Howie and Jimmy Johnson. Plus, I mean, they have Strahan, Gronkowski. But, I mean, those three older guys that have been there forever still bring energy.
Age has nothing to and they laugh. Yeah. They have fun. Right. They're irreverent at times without being disrespectful, and they're opinionated. I'll make this offer, and that's never going to happen. But NBC, I'll make you a deal. You can hire me. I won't take $1. You can audition me. I won't take $1. And at the end of it, if the audition, if you get me on for 2 weeks, you don't have to pay me. But at the halfway point of the season, if people say, "Man, the energy's changed on the set, and there's more opinion," and without being hot takeish, then you can pay me. I'll do it for free to get back, and not because I'm craving it, sakes, because there's a point to prove. Energy does matter, and passion does matter, and we're watching football. We are not. You don't have to. Hey, golf has a different tone and tenor.
Right.
Football needs a different tone and tenor. And I think we're at the point with the talent there, and you've got a bell cow play-by-play guy in Mike Tirico. You want everything to lead into your bell cow. not where the bell cow has to take the energy and give it into the broadcast.
Yeah.
And then when he throws it back to you, lose it because, listen, you put Mike Tirico anywhere. Mike Tirico could turn a flag football game in the middle of the street out in front of your house and without any notes and turn it into like he was prepared for this for 1,000 years. That's the truth. That's who Mike is.
Yep. So we'll see who replaces Tony Dungy on Football Night in America and see if it brings any more energy. But speaking of energy, World Baseball Classic. Some of these games we saw Fernando Tatis hit a bomb and with a huge bat flip. And I mean, he damn near walks to the dugout to celebrate with his team and then runs the bases. I mean, the energy.
His countrymen have that energy.
Oh,
it's just
gosh.
the passion we were just talking about?
Yeah.
Dude, they'll hit a single, and it
incredible.
has changed his passion. It's awesome to watch.
But the team that showed up with no passion last night was Mexico. They just got throttled by Italy, who continues to make a great impression with their young players and some of the veterans they have on.
Did you have this on your bingo card saying Italy would be? They got good players. Aaron Nola's good. Obviously, has had some great success.
Yeah.
But the overall thing, you start thinking, and I don't mean this disrespectful, because you start thinking, man, you got a great pizzeria, but you can also rake and pitch. It's pretty cool. That sounds like, well, Sean, you're plugging them into because they're Italian. Everybody owns Italian. No, not at all. But I didn't have them boat racing. I mean, jumped out to a 7. They kicked their ass from the start, and then they made it too overwhelming to overcome. And the U.S. is probably like, oh, thank goodness this happened for us, right?
Yeah.
And it was shocking, but the U.S. now becomes the favorite after becoming almost not being able to get in, Segs. I think they're the odds-on favorite in Vegas right now to still win the thing.
Yeah.
And they almost missed out.
We got some really, really good teams, some fun matchups starting this Friday. U.S. will take on Canada. So it's another U.S.-Canadian big-time game where, we had the Olympic hockey gold medal game for the men's, Olympic gold medal game in hockey for the women's. And we've had other games, in hockey especially, where U.S. versus Canada has become huge. Well, they will face off Friday night at, let me get this right, 7 p.m. Central. Before them, we'll have Korea facing the Dominican Republic. That game will be in Miami. The U.S. Canada will be there in Houston. And then Saturday, we got Puerto Rico versus Italy. If Italy can pull that one off at 2 p.m. Central there in Houston, they can beat Puerto Rico and then face off in the game of the weekend. I think it would be better than any other game. We have Japan taking on the Dominican Republic. I mean, that is some of the best baseball you will ever see right there with those two teams. So if you got nothing to do Saturday at
some energy in that building, brother.
Saturday at 8 p.m. Central, that game is going to be a cannot miss.
Well, you know what it is, Segs? When we line up the American League and National League All-Stars and run them out to introduce them, you can basically take, I mean, even with the USA out of it, I mean, I'm not saying out of the tournament, but not even being introduced, that game alone, when they're lining up, when you introduce them, you're like, ooh. This is an all-star game between two countries, and both of them are loaded with great players. Not that Canada and the U.S. and Italy don't have good players. Obviously they do. But in that matchup, you're exactly right. And if you want energy and the respect side and the energy side, and man, that's got to almost feel, Segs, because it is your country, World Series-ish to them, right? It has to, right? That energy, because while the World Series is big, now you've ramped it up. Some of these guys will end up being your teammates when you go back, but that feeling of this is everything, that matters, man. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. I love this time of this World Baseball Classic, because if you weren't taking it overly serious because you thought you had a cakewalk to get to this point, it ramps up now, because I can guarantee you Dominicans are loaded, Japanese are loaded, USA's loaded. Italy's been a great, pleasant surprise, and Canada's got a hell of a bunch of guys on there, but let's go kick their ass anyway. So there you go.
It'll be fun. If you're Mark DeRosa right now, you watched that game last night, you took a huge sigh of relief knowing that Italy saved your ass basically by winning that game, getting you into the quarterfinals because of the big gaffe you made. How would you feel if you were Mark DeRosa right now?
Well, Segs, you know what I'd have done? And even at 7, when it started out 7-0, they were pitching them on a shutout, it'd be like, but you're still, don't panic.
Oh,
then you
yeah.
start to look at, well, what's run differential? Instead of doing this, Segs, where it's one finger up, you're double ups to say thank you.
Double ups,
but Mark, but there'll always be but Mark, do you know what's going on now, what it takes next? So I'm sure we all need a little bit of respite from our mistakes and a little bit at a chance. You got a second chance to prove it. We'll forget about it. We'll laugh about it at some point if they go on and win this whole thing, Segs, and take care of their business. We'll say, and he'll come back on the set at MLB Network and say, yeah, I 3-putted a green, but still won Augusta. That's what this is for. Man, I 3-putted and they got into a tie, and or I didn't know the rules and I got a penalty stroke in the fairway because we weren't playing lift, clean, and place. And my ball moved and I didn't tell the rules official. Then I came back and shot 63 in the final round and we won. That's where DeRosa is with this. Now the pressure to go on and win, but they're fortunate they get to move on and they are the favorites going forward. But I can tell you this, they ain't heavy favorites because Dominican, Japanese are really good. Puerto Rico's no slouch, and Italy's proven that they're kind of we're kind of hanging in there. They're kind of over exceeding what we expected, at least what I expected from them at this point, Seg, so far.
Yeah, it is just single elimination, so somebody make sure Mark DeRosa knows that.
Yes, you don't get a second
down.
chance.
You don't just start throwing other people. Yeah. You got to get.
All you got to say to Mark is, now it's like the NC2A tournament, brother. When you lose, you got to go, right? So say It's the NC2A basketball tournament for the World Baseball Classic. There's not a whole lot to know other than keep winning and you get to keep moving. That's the only rule you really need to know now.
Yep. Real quick before we get to some fun stories, fun topics that we want to talk about. Just saw this. Miami of Ohio, who had been 31-0 going into their conference tournament, has lost 87-83, and they were already on the bubble. Some people were saying that they needed to win their conference tournament despite going 31-0 in the regular season to make the 68-team tournament. Now they have to wait and hold their breath on Sunday to see if they're one of the teams in the tournament come selection Sunday.
I'm conflicted on this.
Does that bother you?
It does a little bit, but I also get them. And here's where I'm conflicted. One is, it's been a long time since we had an undefeated team. Now, I understand the conference and I understand the schedule was favorable towards Miami of Ohio. But even then, Segs, think about football and 17 games or how hard it is to win them all.
Yeah.
31-0. Feels like 31-0 automatically gets you in the tournament.
I agree.
That's to me, regardless, because when you're winning and you know the schedule, it may be even tougher when you're a heavy favorite to go on and win than when you're a little bit of a 3 or 4 point dog. They had to stay focused even when they're winning and listen to people talk. So to go undefeated during the regular season, regardless of the conference and the schedule, feels to me that with 60-plus teams in a tournament, Segs, that they should be in the tournament. Now, the only thing that bothers me about it, you kicked ass, and everybody was questioning, well, is the schedule, are you good enough? You got to at least kick a little ass here, too. But I get it. So, to me, they belong in the tournament, even without this. But they didn't do themselves any favors. I get it. But when you go 31-0, man, doesn't that at least put you at a I don't care if you're a 15 seed, Segs, whatever it is. Doesn't that get you in? That's where I'm conflicted.
Don't give me the, we need 17 and 15 Auburn.
No,
we got Bruce Pearl on TV, talking about his former team and his son's team because he's the coach at Auburn. I don't need 17 and 15 or 18 and 15 Auburn, and does nothing for me.
If Auburn played Miami of Ohio, Auburn's favored and probably fairly heavy, even it said. But the regular season matters, and you got to take care of you. And I understand conferences and tougher and the rest of it, but the pressure that mounts to go undefeated. I'm going to take a flyer and tell you that they're a bubble team that still gets in because of 31-0, and I think there's a compassion that the committee may have, Segs, but they left the door open for people to say, but you're going to have a hell of a lot more tough time explaining them not getting in than them getting in or not getting in, as opposed to if you put them in. People may say, but the ninth team in the SEC is better. Great, but did they take care of their business during the regular season? 31-0 tells me you should probably be in the tournament regardless of the conference, the conference championship.
Yeah. And then I know, you talk about it on the show. You're a huge golf guy. We got the Players going on. Was suspended due to rain. I'm trying to see if it's back going.
It was only suspended for about 25 minutes. It's one of the shortest.
So they are back.
There was no lightning. They're back on the course playing unless it stopped again. But after the first, I've been watching Golf Channel all morning. So.
Who you got to win? Who's your?
I
pick?
went in. My emotional pick because I want to see him, and he started out at 5 under and then went into the tee. Was Tony Finau because I like the guy, and then I had Russell Henley as my second choice. I always 3 of them. I had Russell Henley. I'm going to stick with a guy that up and down, but Ludwig Oberg. The truth of the matter is you don't have to hit it. Yeah, you don't have to hit it far here, but you have to hit it straight and you have to hit it to the right spot. And with the wind, if there's no way 20 unders winning this. This is going to be led. This is going to be in the low teens, I would think, because of weather and wind. And if it gets fast and it, you can hit a great shot on 17 and it bounces in the water because if it gets a little crispy. Ludwig, Russell Henley, my emotional pick like every week because he's the nicest guy in the world is Tony Finau. But I'm going to stick with Henley, and I'm going to, but I'm going to go with Ludwig as my choice. And he's kind of like my University of Kansas choice. You know what I'm saying, Segs?
Right.
If he ever reaches tee to green and on the putting surface, his fullest everyday potential, the guy will roll off 5 wins in a year. But he's still young and trying to grasp that. And this is a golf course, Segs, that last 4 or 5 years, it's been won by top 4 in the world rankings. But before that, this is also a golf course. You could be the 150th guy. If you're hitting greens and not hitting your ball wayward in the fairway, it's going to get up to 6 inches of rough. This is like U.S. Open rough.
Right.
It can be brutal. So it is. This tournament has been great over its career. For where'd he come from? Tim Clark, or one of those guys. So, but give me Ludwig, Russell Henley, and if Finau can putt, he'll be okay. I love his ball flight, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it sucks to see that Colin Morikawa had to pull out because he injured his back swinging.
He's playing great golf this year after a rough year, even though he made the Ryder Cup after a rough year for him. 2-time major winner. He started off the season pretty damn good. And Scheffler still continues to struggle early in rounds and then find a way the last 2 rounds to stay in it. We have set the bar so high for him. He's like won once already and finished in the top 10 like 2 or 3 times or whatever it's been and won 12th. And it's like, Scotty, what's wrong? Well, I don't know. It feels like I'm
doing pretty
good. Yeah, exactly.
All right. And then before we get out of here, I saw this clip today and I sent it to you guys. It amazes me. We got Team USA women's, Team USA basketball playing in some tournament or something. Caitlin Clark had a great game. There's a few others that had really good games. And Angel Reese is on the team, who I see and hear a lot about Angel Reese because she plays for the Chicago WNBA team, not too far. I've taken my daughter up there to see some games. And just watching her play basketball is one of the most frustrating things. She can't make simple layups. She loses the ball at just the slightest touch. She gets blocked because she can't jump over a nickel. I mean, I don't know. I know it's this huge back and forth between Angel Reese fans, Caitlin Clark fans, and all this stuff. And it becomes a race thing a lot of the time once they start battling. But this is just purely simple. I've been around the girls' game over the last few years a lot because my daughter's playing. And so watching her play basketball is, the most mentally frustrating thing I've ever done when it comes to sports.
But if you ask her, she's one of the 2 or 3 best, if not the best in the league.
That's what drives me so nuts is because she has this fan base. It's not like MJ and LeBron where, everybody just says LeBron's the best, yet he plays like this. No, this is because the Caitlin Clark thing and that exploded so much in college that nobody really looks at how Angel Reese plays. Yes, she gets a lot of rebounds, but hell, a lot of them are her own misses. And it's just, it sucks to watch. Yeah,
Segs, you are 100% correct. Listen, I respect anybody who's made it to the pros at any sport because, well, they did something. And I don't even need to qualify that. But You know what it is, Segs? First off, if a basketball goal was sitting in the ocean and she was in a boat and it was right underneath her and not moving, she would not hit it.
No.
That's one. Two is, you know what it reminds me of, Segs, is my love for playing basketball and growing up playing it.
Yeah.
Is remember when you got out there on tryouts on your high school team, and then the one kid comes out and good height and physical, you think, oh man, he's a banger, right? Banger. And then we get into the layup line. And the dude takes that layup line and you're like, ooh, he may have 2 left feet.
Yeah.
And he gets to the layup line and
harder than
right. And you couldn't slide a piece of paper underneath this vertical. That's her. But you're bigger and physical than everybody else, and you're a self-promoter, letting us all know how great you are. And you can get 15 rebounds. We stick you under there, and half of them are just your misses.
Right.
But all of a sudden, he goes to the layup line, Segs, and shoots that layup. Instead of slowing down and jumping up, he jumps at the basket and he throws up a layup, and it ends up at half court. Angel Reese. That's the best way. Like I said, respect her game and all that. She's in the pros and all that, but she's a skilled rebounder because she's tall and she knows how to be physical. But as far as if you put them in there, didn't know anybody's name and said, get your handle and get your jump shot and your free throw and how you do in the layup line, you're like, she's going to go play JV.
Yeah.
That's what you'd say. And she's a junior playing on the JV team instead of on the varsity. Yeah, I can't. It's a tough visual to watch. It is, but that's the layup line, and she stand up, boom, 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 and she can get 8. She's the only person that can get 8 rebounds on one possession. That's what this is.
Yeah, there is, and I wanted to try and find the account. There's an account on TikTok that if you I always keep seeing it, and it's this guy who does these clips. He takes clips like this, and she'll go up and she'll brick a layup or something, and he just yells like he'll yell bang really loud every time she misses something, but he's acting like she's doing really good. And it is the funniest thing because
if she's breaking a backboard, it's not going to be from a dunk. It's going to be from a missed layup.
The best thing is he'll go game by game. He'll just pick a game. And these videos are a minute long because she has so many plays each game that he can make fun of her for. And it's just, you watch them and you see that it's all one game. And then you see the next video, it's all the next game. And it's
not a compilation of a full season. It's a game.
No, it's a game compilation of her just missing free throws, layups, jump shots, anything. Just
don't shoot a jump shot.
Nowhere.
I don't want her to shoot a jump shot. But then again, Segs, she may be more effective from 12 feet than she is from 2 feet because she is not. She doesn't have that part of her game dialed in. And by the way, who cares? 71. Back to golf. Ludwig Goldberg. Everything when I watch, I want his tempo. I want his swing, and I like him and Sepp Straka, who step up to the ball and hit. There ain't no dicking around in between swings. If you're playing with them in a group in front of you, they'll be, if it wasn't on the PGA Tour, they're in shorts at your country club. They're done in 3 hours, and you didn't even have to wait one time to hit because they don't dick around on the golf course, and I love it.
Yeah. So, Sean, you're the...
By the way, Angel Reese just missed another layup, Segs. I just wanted to let you know that.
You're the Angel Reese of our show if we played basketball. You miss layups.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And you just rebound your own
you
shot.
Say that about football. No, dude, I can tell you one thing right now. You didn't want to play against me in high school. You don't want any part of that.
Sure.
I'm either dunking on you, hitting the shot on you, you're getting an elbow to the throat. You didn't want any part of that. Trust me.
Quick update as well.
I can tell you this. Do your research.
Yeah.
On the hoop game. Okay?
Yeah.
Just do your research.
The mean
streets. Oh, you're going to change the subject?
No, the mean streets of Esco playing against the...
Well, I can tell you, if you want to check with them, it'd be easy in your town. Go ask Clifford Good News Livingston what it was like playing against me as a sophomore. And he was a senior, and he's a great player. Why don't you go ask him about that playoff game? And then while you're at it, when we go into the grade,
he just kind of shrugs it off and was like, we
sure.
Whooped their ass.
And was a first-round pick. Then go to Johnny Rogers, the former McDonald's All-American. I only hit him for 39, but he was a McDonald's All-American playing at La Quinta. And he was 7 foot, and I'm 6'5". Why don't you go ask him and his coach of the National Coach of the Year? See how I'm bragging? You team me. Football, I'd agree with you. Like, move on. But baseball and basketball, you start to go, now I'm going to tell you how big the fish is, just for fun, and I don't do this very often. You called me, I was the angel read. I would have, in my time and her time, I would have ran circles around her and anybody else. But, so you got Cliff, former first-round pick. Johnny Rodgers, an NBA draft pick, and went to Stanford and was a 7'6", And then, God rest his soul, you can go ask my guy, Wayman Tisdale, at the Las Vegas Invitational. Anybody that follows high school basketball knows that's one of the biggest invites. He and I were both on the all-tournament team. But go ask when we went head-to-head how that he got his. But I assure you, I got my 30-plus on him, too. So you don't want any part of that. And I played like it was the last game I was ever going to play every single game. So
I will
not to brag, but let me brag. There ain't no Angel Reese here when it comes to hoops, brother.
I'll start my research tonight.
Do.
And try and get.
And if you decided to take a charge underneath the basket, your ass was getting D's nuts. Just make sure you understand that. With a cup, too. This way, not a cup on the D's nuts.
There's a poster going around. Michigan played Michigan State. And just what you're saying, Merez Johnson's throwing down a dunk, and he's looking, I think it's Cohen Carr from Michigan State, the kid that can jump really high. And it's just, I mean, Cohen Carr's face, Merez Johnson's nuts are just like right there.
There you go.
And you just got Merez Johnson looking down.
You don't want that, Sigs. Now, I might not be able to dunk now like I used to, but listen, my worst sport in high school was football. We'll just leave it at that.
All right.
Don't
quick
try to
update.
sneak a fastball by me. Don't try to sneak one of those fastballs by me.
Oh, I just go change up. See ya.
Yeah. Torrey Pines tried that to throw me a 1-2 hook, and that got deposited about 4:30. So we'll leave that there, just so you know.
Trey Hendrickson did pass his physical, so he is officially a member.
Segs, I got news for you. He was passing his physical if his leg was falling off, all right?
If he was dead, he was getting that contract.
Ladies and gentlemen, Trey Hendrickson passed his physical. Well, he's been dead for 10 years. No, Trey's good. I'm glad he passed it. But Segs, there was no way on God's green. If he would have had ACL surgery yesterday, Trey Hendricks is passing his physical today while he's in the hospital room, if that was the case, considering the circumstances. Good on him. We've said maybe is underrated, even though he's not underrated. Even as just kind of quiet, a great get is somebody's going to get. If you have to settle for Trey Hendrickson, that ain't a bad gig by the Baltimore Ravens. I can tell you that.
All right, tomorrow, Sean will have you tomorrow. I'm going to be gone. I have a boys baseball tournament I have to take my boys to over in Iowa, so I will not be here tomorrow. But Sean will be talking all the latest in football. What's that?
No, we're just going to show my basketball highlights the whole time. I'm going to introduce them, see it about, that would take like 17 hours to show those, so we can't do it that long. Oh, yeah.
That's about like 40 seconds, and then you just come back, run the Augusta Precious Metals, and say goodbye.
And just keep running out of reel. These are my the only 5 plays I ever made in hoops. Yeah, there you go. But hey, Segs, good luck to you. Enjoy that tournament. I know you're going.
I will.
We'll hop on here tomorrow. We'll miss you. We'll knock it out, and we'll be back full everybody in the mix, full group on Monday again. So, but we'll be here tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yes, 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central. Get over to YouTube, like and subscribe at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. Follow him at Sean Unfiltered, myself at Adam G. Sager. Thanks to Bailey, Laura, all our viewers, commenters, most of our commenters. And then we will be back tomorrow for Sean. I'll be back Monday. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Unpaved Sean Salisbury here for bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.